Hello, this is Mary Prasad. You can find more of my work at awashwithcolor.com. In this video, I'll be talking about blending with walnut oil. This is a non-toxic solution to using solvents such as Sansodor and other odorless mineral spirits. This is the final project that I made with the image that I'm going to use for my demo. I pre-colored this sheet with my Prismacolor pencils, and I'm going to be comparing Chelsea Classic Studio Walnut Oil with Winsor & Newton Sansodor, which is basically an odorless mineral spirits. The pre-colored sheet has 3 sections for blending different colors and just a gradient. All sections were colored the same. I marked the ones with the W for the blending with walnut oil and with an S for blending with Sansodor. As you can see, the walnut oil blends very smoothly. When I blended the area with yellow going to red with just those 2 pencils, I noticed that it took off the red. I think this is because I put on the layers too thick. And I noticed this actually happened to the yellow and blue with the Sansodor. So this was more a coloring error than it was a blending error. The key to blending is to do it in light layers. And I do know this, but I didn't do it when I colored these sections. You will see this in a couple minutes. I will be doing some blending with lighter layers, and you'll see it goes much more smoothly. So now I've switched from the walnut oil to the Sansodor. I'm going to skip through the coloring a little bit more quickly here. Now I've pulled out those same colored pencils, and I'm going to do these in light layers this time. This is blending with Sansodor, and now with walnut oil. I then added a little bit more blue and blended again. And there's a close-up of the blending layers that didn't work out so well, and also the colors that I just blended, and you can see how much better those worked out. And here I'll just quickly run through how I did the orange and also did the purple up in the top part, which actually says blending gradient, but I did a purple there. In conclusion, I think the walnut oil did a comparable job to the Sansodor, but without all the toxic chemicals. The Sansodor is very harmful to breathe. I'm going to show you quickly here some of the warnings on the side of the label. It's got harmful fumes whether you can smell them or not. It's poisonous to ingest, and it's also an irritant to your skin. The walnut oil doesn't have the fumes and is not toxic. The only problem is that you need to dispose of it responsibly because it is a flammable material. Here's another look at the Sansodor warnings. They're both on the front and the side. Chelsea Classic Studio also makes other oils. I have linseed oil and lavender spike oil, and I'm going to be trying these sometime in the future. The lavender spike oil has a strong smell of lavender, so if you don't like strong smells, I wouldn't purchase this one. Blending stumps come in a number of sizes. I keep my smallest ones, numbered 1 and 2, in these Ziploc bags. I label each of the stumps with the color on both sides of the stump. I also mark them with the type of oil. So in this case, the walnut oils are going to be labeled with a W, the linseeds with an L, and the spike seed oil with an S. I also label the bags. I use a Sharpie to do all the labeling. By the way, I will put affiliate links below the video to all the items I use in this video. If I miss any, you'll be able to find them on my blog post, which will be listed below this video. If you're watching this from my blog post, you'll be able to just scroll down to the supplies area to find all the links. The image I'll be coloring is from Dreamerland Crafts, and it's Shopping Makes Me Happy. It also has a set of matching dies, but I won't be using those. I will also be using this perfectly plaid winter pack 6x6 paper from Lawn Fun. And I'm going to be matching this page right here. So I've already picked out the colors of cardstock, and I'm going to be coloring the image reflecting these colors. This is my color chart for my Prismacolor pencils. I store all my pencils in a global art container, actually 2 of them, and I've labeled them on the side with some vinyl that I cut with my Silhouette Cameo. Each of these pencil cases holds 120 pencils. I have 2 of them because over the years I've actually collected a couple different sets of Prismacolor pencils. Some of them were smaller sets and some of them I ordered singles. Anyway, these 2 cases hold my whole collection. So I went through my chart and I picked out the colors that best match the paper. Plus I also wanted to have the girl stand out a little bit, so I pulled some of a kind of a pinky purple color for her coat and hat. I also pulled out some flesh tone colors and some hair colors. The elastic in the cases tends to be a little stiff when you first get it. I loosen it up by kind of rubbing a spoon handle along the underside of each to loosen them up before I put the pencils in. When you do put the pencils in, put them in tip first, but be very careful that it doesn't catch on the elastic, and then push them out from the bottom. Here I'm testing 3 of my inks to see how well they work with the walnut oil. The 3 inks are Archival ink, VersaFine ink, and Memento Tuxedo Black. The VersaFine was the only one that came off with the walnut oil, but doing more testing with the pencils, I found out the Archival ink came off with the pencils. So the only ink that really worked was the Memento Tuxedo Black. Since I'm going to be stamping the houses in the background, I'm going to need to mask the girl pushing the bear. For this I'm using some masking, which I don't believe they make anymore, but you can buy masking paper or something similar at most craft stores. I went off the screen here a little bit, but I'm just measuring to see how big the stamp of the girl pushing the bear is, so I could cut the masking the right size. To do this, I just stamped it on a piece of scrap paper. I'm using a MISTI to stamp everything today, but you could use a stamp platform, a stamp positioner, or just a clear acrylic block. I use StazOn Jet Black ink to stamp on my mask. StazOn ink works really well on slick surfaces such as this plastic, and I plan to keep this mask with the stamp set. This way I know that the stamping will last. I try to cut the mask on the line. This way when you put it on the image, it'll be just inside the line. I've cut down my cardstock and now I'm ready to stamp. I'm going to be using both sides of my MISTI. I'm using the main image on the bottom and the background on the top, and also her boots. You can see them in the middle there. The reason I'm doing this is because I plan to leave these mounted so I could double stamp her at the end when I'm done coloring, in case any of the colored pencils blur the line. I keep a damp Lawn Fawn chamois nearby so I can clean off my stamps. These chamois don't leave behind any lint. Now I'm going to stamp the background. I actually didn't like the position I put it in, but that was kind of where I guessed it would be. So I'm just moving it here. When you're stamping over a mask, make sure you press down right where the mask meets the paper. If you don't press hard enough, you may get a gap. Be sure to wipe off your mask before you put it away. I also replace it onto the original paper that it came on so that it will be nice and sticky next time. I just noticed I had a little stray ink on the image, so I'm using a Faber-Castell Perfection Eraser to get rid of it. I also really like this to keep this around because the brush end is great for brushing away a little bit of lead that might get on the picture as you're coloring. This way you don't use your hand and get any more grease or smudges that way. For light colors especially, I usually clean off the tip by coloring on a scrap sheet before I color on my image. I'm going to be alternating between coloring and blending. This helps you build up the layers and add more colors and makes it all nice and smooth. For the specific colors of Prismacolor pencils I used, you can check the supply list on my blog post. The link will be at the bottom of this video. This pencil needs sharpening, so I opened my drawer and looked for my sharpener. I used the Kum sharpener from Germany. This is an excellent one for creating a long, sharp point. It's a two-part sharpener. You sharpen the first section here, and then and I'll pull out the shavings in a second. But then you'll move it once it gets beyond the blade. Like that. Then it's ready for part 2. If you look at the top of the sharpener, you might notice there are a couple extra blades. It's really nice that it comes with refill blades, so when these get dull, you can just replace them with a screwdriver. To sharpen blending stumps, you could use a sandpaper and just rub it along the sides of the tip to sharpen it that way, or you can use a pair of scissors like I'm doing here and just cut away the bits. I also do this to change the colors. If the blue I'm using is a lot lighter than what's on the tip, I might cut away some of the darker blue, for example. To make sure it's clean, I will dip it in the oil or solvent and clean it off on a scrap sheet. If I go outside the lines, I'll grab my trusty Faber-Castell Perfection Eraser. By the way, you can sharpen the eraser in any sharpener. I just use my Kum. I just don't go all the way to the end like I do with the pencils. I didn't really have to color the shoes, but I just did them in a dark color. They're going to be covered by the boots. And I didn't show the stamping of the boots, but you'll see them in a second. Here they are. I'm going to just color them some browns, and I will cut them out by hand. The dies that come in the set leave a white border around them, and for this use I don't want a white border. At this point I realized that I needed to sharpen my brown pencil, so I did it as usual on my Kum, and sure enough, the typical problem that I've heard of with Prismacolors came through. This one was made with a flaw. I think it was with the wood. The glue may not have attached as well either, but as soon as I went to use it, it broke. There's definitely a flaw in the wood because even when I sharpened it again, you could see that the wood wasn't quite right. I don't have problems with most of my pencils, but I did buy a few of the new colors when they came out a few years ago, and some of those pencils I have had problems with. I don't know if this is one of the new ones because of that flaw with the wood, but I do know that the couple that I did have problems with, when I contacted Prismacolor, they did replace them for free. I don't know how the pencils are nowadays because I haven't bought any recently. I'm going to speed through the coloring of the coat and hat, and then I will start coloring her hair so you can kind of see my technique. So what I've done for her hair is I've laid down a light color on the bottom, which I think was that gold one you see over there on the right. And then I start putting in different color browns. I put them in the shaded areas, darker and darker, but I also put a few strokes of the darker colors in the light areas. I wanted to extend the right horizon line, so I'm using a black Copic multiliner to do this. I'm also going to fill in a couple little details, such as an extra step on one of the houses and little stones and pebbles and stuff like that. I used a gray to do some shading on the ground, and then for the houses in the background I used the same colors, but I used some of them light and some of them dark. I also added windows with either dark gray or light gray or yellow to look like people were home. To finish off the background, I just added some light blue to the sky area and blended that out. To finish her boots off, I just glued them on with some Line Co pH neutral adhesive in a fine line 20 gauge applicator and bottle. Before putting them on, I should have said that I went around the edges of the boots with a black marker. Usually I use a Copic multiliner or a Memento marker in black. This hides the edges and gives it a nicer clean look. To cut out the image, I used rubber necker stamps, nested rectangles in the small stitch. Again, here's the pad of paper that I used from Lawn Fawn. And then I just assembled the card. Here's a final look at my card. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like these videos, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.